Third race of the TNR DRP Stadium Truck Series takes to the last great Coliseum, the world's fastest half mile. This is Bristol Motor Speedway. We started out the season at the dirt-covered road course of Bark River, asphalt road course last week at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, but now it's time for some speedway racing and some short track racing with the Stadium Super Trucks. I'm Seth Cole, alongside of Anthony McCreary, and Anthony, an entirely different monster for these drivers to deal with here tonight.
Absolutely. We are here at the last great Coliseum, the Bristol Motor Speedway, the first time that we're going to be on an oval this season for these drivers. And we saw how it was on asphalt the last time out. This is concrete, and it's also a highly banked oval. Everyone knows Bristol. How are these trucks going to handle here? We're about to find out. But if practice was any indication, we're about ready to have a pretty amazing show.
And if practice is also any indication, it almost looks like there's not really an out-of-bounds area here going into these corners. Saw a lot of drivers actually running down that dark gray, which would be considered an apron in other series. So we'll see if that comes into play. And obviously, if that is a lane, we know they will use it at some point in this race. But we got those heats that we got to get out of the way first to set up the starting lineup for the eventual B main and A main race. It looks like it's going to be Dave Bodillo that's going to be our pole sitter for this first heat alongside of Tristan Mayer. You've got our inaugural winner on the season at Bark River, Josh Edmondson. He'll line up third with Garrett Gleason and Mike Tellier being the top five in this one. Now, obviously, Edmondson been very consistent to start out the season, had that victory, back-to-back top fives, and a 10-point gap coming into this race over William Edwards, but you'd have to think that at a short track of all places, that would be a very difficult place to preserve a points lead.
Absolutely, especially because all these drivers are pretty much going to be flat out throughout this entire track, as we have a couple of drivers that, never mind, we are going to have a rolling start. Usually we have a standing start for these races, but there is going to be a rolling start for tonight, as, back at Mosport, we saw that a driver that came into the season, Connor Parisi, was actually the one who took the A main victory in that race. That whole weekend featured quite a slew of different races, and the length of the race got progressively higher as the night went on, and we saw how they were able to drive that track. At the same breath, this track is kind of the great equalizer. You don't have to worry about braking zones at all, and these guys might have to let off the throttle a little bit going into these turns, but you can pretty much run these trucks pretty well flat out around this track without severe consequence, which is something that I didn't think was going to happen given the fact that these trucks are not designed specifically for these types of tracks. But hey, here we are, and Bodillo and Mayer will get us ready to go for our first heat race, which is a 10-lap event. And you and I both know, Seth, the laps at this track, they go by very quick, so this could be a potentially very short heat race.
We saw these drivers even in practice and qualifying running in the 18-second bracket for their lap time, so these heats, they will fly by in a hurry. So if you're someone like Mike Tellier starting at the rear of this pack, yes, there's only 4 cars you have to pass, but you don't have a whole heck of a lot of time to be able to pass them and get those valuable bonus points here in this heat. Green flag in the air. Dave Bodillo, he got himself a decent jump, but Tristan Mayer got a slightly better one. They're dead even through 1 and 2.
Edmondson behind will fall in line, still side by side between Maher and Bodillo. Bodillo drives it in deep, a little bit of contact with the 98, sends him up the racetrack, and that will give the lead clearly to Bodillo. To the inside goes Edmondson on Maher.
We know that these trucks, they can take a beating, and with it being a short track, no doubt they will be more than willing to use these trucks as a weapon in these tight corners. It's going to be contact for second. Tristan Mayer on the top, Josh Edmondson on the bottom as Dave Bodillo starts to loom away from the second place.
Tristan Maher to the outside, trying to hold on to it. He's been able to do it quite well. Behind, though, there was a driver off track. That was Gleason that went off track. He made some contact with the outside wall, but he's back going the right direction. Now it's a 4-truck fight for the lead of the race. We make it second place, really, as Bodillo continues to lead, but Maher Edmondson's still behind, but Mike Tellier has now put his pink machine into the mix, and there's some contact out front! Almost sent them around. How they get through turn 3! Contact was made, but they saved it!
Wow, what a save. We've seen some incredible saves during the course of the season at the road courses. Usually you've got some runoff to be able to save the machine, but there's such a high degree of banking in the corners here. great job by Tristan Mayer to keep that thing pointed in the right direction, because as we know, Anthony, when these things get out of shape, it takes you a moment to get them pointed in the right direction again, and more contact. Tristan Mayer put up into the wall, courtesy of Mike Tellier. That was for third place. Now drop Tristan Mayer all the way back, potentially to the 5th spot.
Yeah, he's going to be under fire from Gleason now, who is trying to recover after he made contact with the ball, but Maher looks like it might be heat race over, as two teammates out front, Badillo and Edmondson, now going to try and battle. Badillo did not partake in the Mosport race last week, so he's back onto the schedule now, trying to have a good showing for this team as a whole, but right now under fire from the guy who dominated our opening weekend event and finished second place at the round at Mosport. So now trying to work his magic to the inside of Badillo. Can he slot up in front, or will Badillo get the run down the back straightaway? He does, going into turn 3. Can he hold it on the outside? Looks like he might, but still close.
High, wide, and handsome there through 3 and 4, dead even at the line. Give it to the 16 on the top by just barely a nose as they continue to run side by side. Yet Dave Badillo made his debut back in the season opener. There's contact between the two. That brings Mike Tellier into the mix here now. All of a sudden, it's a 3-man dance coming to the white.
1 lap to go. Can Edmondson get the pass done, or will Badillo hold it, or will Tellier make his way through? We saw him finish pretty similar to this recently at Bristol. Were we going to see another one? Oh, contact was made between Badillo and Edmondson going through turn 3 and 4 for the final time. Who gets the run? Outside, inside, it's going to be, I don't know.
16, I do believe, barely edged the 58 at the start-finish line. Dave Badillo, what a drive off the final corner. And I didn't get to see the interval, but I guarantee you it might be the closest finish we'll have here tonight. And that was just the heat race.
Heat 1 done. We got 1 more to go before we set our full field for tonight's race. And it's another stack of cars that are looking to get their way back into a good finish after coming off of Mosport. You've got Lucarelli, you've got Cageman, you've got Giaquinto, who had a dismal race at Mosport. You've got Connor Parisi, who won the last time out. He'll be lining up in this field, and Vincent Valvano will be in this field as well.
Of course, Parisi, as you mentioned, the winner at Canadian Tire last week, which was his first start on the season. So he obviously has some work to do after missing the season opener at Bark River. But drivers like Stephen Cageman and Bob Giaquinto, they've got the opportunity to be able to take advantage of the fact that second in the point standings, William Edwards is not going to be in the field here tonight. He was only 10 points back behind Josh Edmondson coming into tonight's race.
Yeah, that's going to be big for these drivers who are trying to extend their points lead out towards the season. It's a short season for these guys. And there was a few drivers also at Mosport that didn't take the green flag. That was pretty high up in the point standings as well. We mentioned one of them, Badillo. Didn't take the point, or didn't take the race last weekend, but he's in the field tonight. And with the rest of these drivers, I do believe we're in the field at Mosport. Getting ready to go for our second heat race. It's going to be 4 trucks this time around. And if it was anything like we saw in the first heat, you can pretty much lean on each other all you want to, and you can keep it relatively straight. We didn't see anybody go all the way around. When you put the power down on these trucks, they're able to hold down pretty tightly. So we should see more of the same in this one.
Yeah, we saw them use the doors of their respective trucks, but I was almost wondering if we might see the patented bump and run there in the closing stages of that heat. We're yet to really see the front bumper come into play. We'll see if maybe that takes place here in this heat. As 4 drivers going to be taking the green flag here for the second and final heat. Steve Cageman is going to be leading us down here to the green flag. Bob Giaquinto, actually, correction, is the one that led us to the green, as the driver that was supposed to lead us to the green, Tony Lucarelli, will be missing his second straight race. He was going to be in this grid, but he did not grid up.
Here comes Parisi to the inside, trying to make a run. He's got the momentum around the middle of the racetrack. He's also got Cageman right behind him that might be making some strides to get to the front. All 4 of these drivers right nose to tail with each other. Here comes Parisi to the inside of Giaquinto. Can he get the pass done? It doesn't look like that Giaquinto put up much of a fight, as on the apron was Cageman on the back side of the racetrack. He might try to send it in.
Connor Parisi going to go to the point. Giaquinto up on the top side, going to battle back. He'll get to the right rear quarter panel, heading down the back straightaway. So Giaquinto says not just yet. Oh, a little too high there though through 3 and 4 as he's up into the outside wall, and Bristol Motor Speedway is one of those walls where it will not let you go. Usually you're going to lose a lot of momentum, subsequently a lot of spots, as everybody is usually right up each other's gearboxes.
And right now, Parisi trying to get away, but not been able to get away much from Cageman, who sends it in a bit too deep. Gonna lose out maybe to Valvano, who almost gets sideways coming out of the turn, but holds it down as we come around to complete another lap. I believe as we're on the back straightaway rather, so we're halfway through this lap, but still trying to hold it on. And I've noticed that if you can put your car, if you can pin it down to the inside line, then that's the best bet if you're going to get around the racetrack, because Parisi's been able to hold his truck down to the inside as much as he possibly can, and he's been able to walk away with this lead.
Ever wondered just how much wheel motion comes into play maneuvering a super stadium truck around a half-mile concrete track like Bristol? On board here with Stephen Cageman gives you a pretty good idea. Looks fairly similar to what we would see with a normal stock car. Not a lot of counter steering. Obviously, we can clearly see there the back end of the truck wanting to step out on corner X. I think that's the biggest thing that these drivers are having to deal with, is that loose sensation when they come off of 2 and 4.
Now, not very planted these trucks are. They are extremely loose coming out of these trucks. Again, they're not designed to do this. They're designed for road circuits that are usually with dirt on them, but we sometimes occasionally see them go at asphalt circuits. But this one, seeing them in an oval, especially a high speed half mile such as this one, a bit shocking for these drivers as they're topping out around 110 miles an hour going down the straightaways and holding the speed through the turns as well. They don't ever dip below 90 miles an hour through the turns, so right on edge these trucks are all race long. And up at the front, it's going to be Connor Parisi, who's going to come around, take the white flag in Heat 2, and if nothing else changes, I don't think he's going to lose the lead.
It's going to be about 0.8 of a second he has back to this battle for second place as Valvano really loose off of 2 again. Tried to get the power down, maybe just a little too early. So Parisi's going to come around and take the checkers. Cageman will be second. Valvano and Giaquinto will be the 4 in this heat in their respective finishes. And that sets us up now for the starting lineup for the upcoming B main event. 10 laps for the heats, now 25 laps, and all 10 drivers going to be on track.
We're going to see what they can do once we get all of our drivers on. And again, the field is inverted, so the winners of our heat races will be starting towards the back of the pack. So you've got Badillo, Parisi, Edmondson, Cageman. They'll be starting 7th through 10th respectively. And then you have drivers that may have not have gotten such a good run will be starting at the front, such as Gleason, Giaquinto, and Tristan Maher. Now, Tristan Maher was our defending champion, and he has not had the season that he wanted to have at the beginning, and he's trying to get his season going still. He'll be lying up 4th place. He'll potentially be lying up in the 3rd place spot because I don't think that Lucarelli is going to make the grid. Neither is Badillo. Badillo hasn't gotten on grid yet.
Yeah, he would have been scheduled to roll off 10th place. Lucarelli, who did not take part in his heat, also not on the racetrack. So for the 2nd straight time, Bob Giaquinto is going to be the unofficial pole sitter. And there you see the 16 getting on track. So it looks like we are going to have 9 drivers to take the green here. Actually, I believe the 16 may have actually spawned on pit road. So that's going to potentially trap him a lap down early. We'll follow up on that as the race progresses on. So it will be Giaquinto, Gleason, Mayer, and Valvano. That's going to be the first 2 rows, with Cageman completing the top 5. Mike Tellier, Josh Edmondson, and Connor Parisi. That's going to be your top 8. And then Badillo still sits on pit road, not yet coming onto the racetrack. So we'll follow up there on that 16, see if he's going to be able to get out here and still stay on the lead lap, as that pace truck ready to turn them loose here at the Bristol Motor Speedway. And we talked about the defending champ, Tristan Mayer, losing out on really valuable bonus points, not finishing up there inside of the top 3 in his respective heat. Gotta wonder just how aggressive he's going to be, as he's got himself some pretty good starting track position for the B main.
Let's see if he can get to the inside line, as it seems to be the magic line around this racetrack for these trucks. And if he does indeed get there, we should be able to see him work his way through the field. But Gleason and Giaquinto will be our front row. Now, Gleason, the last time we saw him start on the front row, in the B main at least, he blew an engine. at the beginning of the race, and that was at Most Sport. But now on a rolling start, should be a-okay to get us underway for tonight's B main as the safety truck pulls down. Green flag is in the air, and nobody was waiting as Giaquinto is going to pull out to an early lead, but Gleason right behind him, and Valvano to the inside of him as everyone fans out behind. Too wide racing as Giaquinto tries to get away.
Saw the red 98 of Tristan Mayer take a look up the middle 3 wide again, tries to see if there's a lane down the front straightaway, but instead going to push Gleason into the corner, and he's going to get the wall for his troubles as Tristan Mayer not able to really judge where the lifting area was there going into turn 3, and it's going to cost him.
As he falls all the way back towards the back of the pack, up at the front, it's still going to be Giaquinto leading the race, but Valvano is now being hounded by Mike Tellier and company. Gleason's gone to the outside line, trying to get stepping away. Whoa. Stepping out was Giaquinto's car, 3 wide as Tellier takes it up the inside of the racetrack, and he's made contact with the leader Valvano, and he too has made contact with Giaquinto, who goes around.
23 around there on the straightaway. No caution going to come out at this point in time as Giaquinto gets the thing refired and drives away. Vincent Valvano and Mike Tellier now side by side for that top position. Parisi, who started at the back, is now already up in a battle for third. He's on the top side of Tristan Mayer. This is taking place less than a car length behind the battle for the race lead.
Contact made, there goes the, oh no, he's gonna make contact with the outside wall, and now he's gonna lose a ton of positions. It's going to be Parisi, as he's fallen all the way to 6th place, but it's gotten back going the right direction as Tellier takes the lead. Valvano behind, Tristan Maher will be in 2nd, and Edmondson now slots into 4th.
You know, obviously, the racing a lot closer when it's a short track, but the one saving grace as opposed to 2 road courses we were at in the last couple of weeks is if you get involved in a slide here, there's at least a wall on the outside to save you and be able to keep it straight rather than spinning it out, having to try and refire it and losing a lot of track position. So these drivers obviously in the case there of Connor Parisi using that to their advantage to at least stay within striking distance of these top 4, which right now you can throw a blanket over them. 4 car lengths between 4 trucks.
And this is one of the tracks with a great equalizer as Tellier almost loses it into the wall, but saves it before he does. Makes contact going down the back straightaway. Valvano moves to the lead, but this is kind of one of the tracks that's also going to be a bit of an equalizer for some of these guys, is that at Most Sport, we saw that it benefited a lot of drivers who were good at the racetrack and was able to put their skill onto the track with these trucks. Now, this track, you run flat out, so it's basically just send it in and hope that it's
Oh, we got a flipper! Tristan Mayer up and over into the catch fence. He's going to get hit by Garrett Gleason. A wild ride there in 3 and 4 for the driver of the 98.
And he'll pull it down onto the apron, and that truck is done. Engine expired, and the yellow flag will come out as a result.
It's not very often that you see any type of vehicle flipping over at a short track, but Bristol is a place where they carry a lot of speed into the corner. Let's see what happens here, as I believe that's Josh Edmondson in the 58 that looks to the inside for the position. And it looks like a harmless tap into the left rear quarter panel, but certainly had much more catastrophic results than one would originally think.
It looks like that what happened is he got hopped up onto the side of the aforementioned Edmondson, and it just sent his truck over. It grabbed the wheel on the right side, and then it flipped into the catch fence and continued to flip down the turns, and eventually getting hit by Gleason on the way down and then parking it at the exit of the front straightaway pit straight. That was a violent crash on the part of Mayer.
Oh, there's no doubt about it that Tristan Mayer losing his battle for Gladiator here tonight at the last Great Coliseum as the defending champion who came into this race a total of 13 points out of the points lead, struggled in his heat race, and now is going to find himself possibly out of the running here for a good finish in the B main. Now, he does have the A main to still look forward to, and since the field would be inverted again, if he finishes where he is right now, he would end up being the pole sitter for the upcoming A main. But again, much like in his heat race, a lot of valuable bonus points that he's going to miss out on here.
Absolutely. Now, the benefit for him, though, is that he did have a faster pair. All these drivers have a faster pair that they can use in this race, and he has used one. The bad news is He's going to line up, I believe, 2 laps down. It looks like they're letting him get at least one of his laps back. We'll see if he can get both of them back, but you don't want to have a bad finish because the points are on the line, and it's almost not worth having the better starting position for the A main if you can't carry the points over from the B main. You want to have consistent runs throughout the season. You're going to have to add points because the finishes is really where it's at. Like, you do lose the track position if you finish well in one of these races, but you do have that points advantage that you take into the next race, which is, I think, what these drivers are eyeing for. He does get 1 lap back. Looks like they are going to allow him to be on the lead lap. So this is the best news for the defending champion as he can try to fight his way through the field. There's still a few laps remaining in this race, about 11 of them when we go back to green flag. So some time for Mayer to make his way back up through the field. We should see how he does. His truck is still pacing around at least one more time. But Seth, we've seen a truck flip now. That's kind of an indication really of what we could see in the A main. These trucks, again, not designed for this track, and when you get them sideways, they dig in, and we saw one dig into the side of the turn here. Do these drivers race with less aggression, or do they try to go in and try to get some of these drivers to make a mistake with the threat of them potentially having a blowover?
Well, no doubt the Tristan Mayer machine flipping over is a warning shot across the bow for every single one of these drivers, but I kind of think that you have to go into these corners not afraid. You mentioned they have the faster pair available to them, and again, maximum points. You know, sometimes it's going to work out, and you may look back on it and say, maybe I shouldn't have made that move, but if it works, then you're going to reap the rewards, and the fact that it's a very limited schedule as well, you got to make your moves sooner than later, because a finish here, a 5th place here tonight as opposed to a 6th, could be a difference maker into whether you're going to be in the hunt for the championship or not when we get to the season finale.
Green flag back in the air. Valvano takes the lead. Edmondson to second. Tellier on the outside trying to make it work. Parisi's found his way back in to the top 4 as he's running in the 4th, and Dave Badillo is now made his way up into the top 5. That caution really helped him because he had to start from the pit lane, finds himself in 5th place, running with his teammates.
That's a great point there as he's now going to crack the top 5. Ooh, little almost contact between himself and Edmondson as we ride on board with the 11, who slots into the 4th place. That's Connor Parisi to his outside in that battle for the 4th spot. Then it's going to be Tristan Mayer trying to enter into this conversation as well. All drivers got points in their heat races as the top 6 get points, and only a maximum of 5 drivers started in the first heat. We had 4 in the second heat. But here in this B main, Anthony, 1 driver is not going to get bonus points. 8 out of these 9 drivers will get bonus points, and right now, you got about 4 drivers back there trying to not be that last guy out there.
Right now, it's Garrett Gleason on the chopping block that won't get points if he finishes where he's at right now. He's battling with Bob Giaquinto, who was leading at one point in this race, trying to stay in front, trying to get some points, but he slows up into turn 1, and it's going to lose the position temporarily unless he can get the run. But now, the pass made by Gleason. Gleason moves back into the points at the front. Valvano challenged by Tellier for the race lead as the laps continue to tick down here.
Saw the tap to the left rear quarter panel, moving to 38 up the racetrack. Mike Tellier making the path on his own. Not quite able to get the power down, though, as I think that might have been Parisi that hit the wall off of that corner. That would have been off of turn number 2. Side by side still for the race lead. Valvano on the top, Tellier on the bottom. Coming to 4 laps to go, and great run here for Vincent Valvano, who in the 2 main events so far this season has finished no lower than 7th place. Let's see if he's going to be able to keep that momentum on the top as everybody else has migrated to the lowest point of the track in the corners.
Tellier trying to get the lead on the inside. They're still side by side. Now behind them, Mayer sends it in, makes contact with Edmondson, gets him out of shape, and he hits his teammate Parisi. 3 wide between all of them, but Badillo's going to get around the outside line. Battle for the lead continues between these 2. Who wants it more? Tellier on the inside, Valvano on the outside. Both of them winless so far this season. Both of them have had terrible finishes so far this season.
Got to make sure, though, that they don't do a lot of contact like that there, because Tristan Mayer is going to be there to capitalize. Tellier's going to drop back to 3rd, maybe to 4th. Now he's under fire for 5th, and he's going to get spun off the nose of, I believe that is Josh Edmondson. all of them somehow manage to keep the thing pointed in the right direction. We avoid a caution and we'll see the white. It's Valvano versus Tristan Mayer here for the B main victory.
Almost using some contact between Mayer. He does use the contact. Into the wall goes Mayer. Down to the apron goes Valvano. Badillo through the middle is going to get through it all. From third to first, Dave Badillo started on the pit lane. Will finish the B main as the winner.
And they're still wrecking, coming to the start-finish line. Vincent Valvano and Tristan Mayer getting together. They're going to cross the line in the 8th and 9th position. Those were drivers that were first and second when they took the white flag.
It's incredible. The amount of positions that were exchanged under that last lap alone. The entirety of the top 5 was under a change, and that, again, congratulations to Badillo, who ended up winning that race. After starting dead last, he didn't just start dead last. He started from the pit road, and he was able to win this race. So that's a great. You can, as long as you're in a position, you have a chance here, and that's the great equalizer of Bristol because it's such a short lap, because it's an oval. The race never gets that spread out. You have a chance no matter what position you're in.
Oh, good news for Dave Badillo. He picked up some very valuable points winning that B main. The bad news is he's got to do it all over again. Now, he is going to be able to start up here with the lead pack on this green flag, but he's going to have to go back and pass all of those trucks one more time as we get ready now for our 50-lap main event feature, the A main here at Bristol. Bob Giacchino once again going to be the pole sitter for this one, with Tony Lucarelli not starting on point. Tristan Mayer is going to be on his outside for the front row. Then it's Valvano and Gleason in the second row. And starting in third is going to be, I believe that's the 58 of Josh Edmondson.
And then everyone else behind them, Tellier, Parisi, and Badillo will be our final driver starting for our A main event. All drivers in this field will be getting points this time around, as the amount of drivers that can or are eligible for points increases by 2. So with 9 drivers, everyone will be eligible for points tonight. However, the drivers behind, such as Badillo, Parisi, those are drivers that are looking to try and get their way back up at the front. Parisi, the defending A main winner from Mosport, going to try and capitalize on a good finish tonight, potentially going 2 wins in a row in the A main for Parisi. Mike Tellier, also with a great run tonight, will be trying to carry the momentum from the B main into this A main event as the pace truck pulls off onto the pit lane. What will happen? 9 trucks, 50 laps, green flags in the air. Mayer gets to a great start. Giacchino down to the inside will be shut down by Mayer as he slots in line, and everyone else behind them. Valvano and Gleason battle for side by side for third place.
Tristan Mayer, Bristol has not gone his way tonight, but good starting track position has him out in front ahead of this side-by-side battle for third. Then you've got them side-by-side for fifth. They're going to go 3 wide, potentially for fourth now, as Valvano was wicked loose out of turn number 2. Got a car in the wall. That would be the 22 of Steve Cageman. He's going to drop back, and now it's going to be a 5-way battle for fourth place.
As fourth place under contest between Valvano, Edmondson, Tellier, Parisi, and Badillo. They're all on the line. They're all trying to find out where they can make passes at, and right now, it doesn't look like anywhere, as on the inside, it's held up by that pink machine of Tellier. But to the outside now, contact being made between himself and Edmondson as they almost go 3 wide, battle for the lead as Giacchino trying to get to the inside of Tristan Mayer. Can he do it? Can he not? We got a slow truck in front of them, however. I'm sorry, make that Gleason, as Gleason and Giacchino battle for second place, I should say, as Tristan Mayer, the only driver so far tonight, has been able to pull away.
Garrett Gleason, who started this race from the second position, subsequently ended up being the 4th spot on the grid, battling there with Bob Giacchino, and they've got him wadded up behind them as well, with Mike Tellier, Vincent Valvano side by side for the 4th position. You've got Edmondson, we got Valvano out of shape, he saves it. But I'll tell you what, a lot of these guys, I don't know if they're trying to be good neighbors and help keep the trucks facing in the right direction, or if the circumstances are just working out that way, but there's been quite a number of trucks that should be spun out that haven't been, as they've been given a little bit of a shoulder to lean on to gather their trucks back up.
Whoa, someone that might not have been able to do it is Gleason as he goes off the track down to the apron. hits the inside retaining wall and will come back on circuit 9th place, losing all the way down into the last place position after contact with Giaquinto. Now he'll have to try and play catch up to get back up to the front of the field, as now Tellier is going to try and make his way to the inside of Giaquinto for 2nd place. And here comes Dave Badillo with him. Both of these drivers did well in the B main. Badillo winning the B main. Can he get up into this battle for 2nd place?
Badillo has picked up 5 spots since the initial start of the race, trying to go from last to first once again, winning his heat race. Oh, we got some bleeding on each other for 2nd between Giaquinto and Tellier. They managed to keep it together, but that brings Badillo into the picture now, a 3-man fight for the 2nd spot. And this obviously is the longest race of the evening, the 50-lap main event A-main race. And one thing that we notice with a concrete track like Bristol is the tire wear. You can easily see with these pan-out shots off of 2, off of 4, onto the front back straightaways, just the tire rubber that is being left from the rear tires on these trucks. That's going to be something they're going to have to really deal with in the closing stage of this race, is the lack of grip in the rear, and they don't really have a whole lot of rear grip to start with.
No, absolutely not. And as the race goes on, as the tires wear down, it's going to be even harder for these drivers to try and find the grip and try to get the speed down. I tell you what, Badillo, every lap so far as he goes to the turns, he wants to take it 3 wide. You can see him kind of poke into the middle of these 2 drivers, but he just backs out of it before they get in the turn. Either that or he has a run and gets shut down and can't do it, but you definitely see he wants to try and get around these guys. He's faster. I know he's faster than Giaquinto. I don't know if he's faster than Tellier, but they need to start working if they want to catch up to Tristan Mayer, because he's opened up a huge gap of about 2.5, almost 3 seconds back to these guys. At the rate they're running, they're not catching him anytime soon.
Badillo up and into the wall there, following in the tire tracks of Giaquinto. That's going to lose him a spot to Josh Edmondson. Edmondson trying to be the first 2-time winner on the year, but a wall created in front of them with Giaquinto and Mike Tellier. Obviously, after you and I had the opportunity to be able to observe a number of races at the Bristol Motor Speedway this past weekend, and something that we observed when we looked at the track map outside was that this track does not have uniform corners. Actually, 3 and 4 are tighter corners than 1 and 2, and I have to wonder if that could come into play as well with how these drivers approach the 3rd and 4th corners in regards to the tire wear on those rear tires.
You have to take turns 3 and 4 a lot differently than you would 1 and 2, as earlier Badillo got contact with his teammate Edmondson and Giaquinto, and he's lost a position now, but it's kind of like Darlington in a sense, but not as extreme as Darlington. But at this track, 3 and 4 are tighter than 1 and 2. You kind of have to take a different line through there, and the tire wear is a lot more going through those turns as well. So having that in mind, you're going to have to be careful when entering in and trying to get the power down, because one wrong move in those turns particularly, and you're going up in the outside wall. But so far, it doesn't seem like it's ailing anybody at the moment, as when trying to slot in line, as I believe Tellier's gotten away from Giaquinto. He's starting to put down some fast laps. If anybody's going to run down this 98, it might be the 97, but time will tell.
And right now, his lap times are running just about equal with Tristan Mayer, so it may come down to either how much did Mike Tellier use trying to battle side by side for a number of laps with Giaquinto, or how much has Tristan Mayer used up on his tire wear in trying to get away from what was then a battle for 2nd place. That's going to be the telltale sign here, as I'm pretty certain with it being a short track, half a mile in distance, fuel is not going to be a major concern for these drivers. It's really just going to come down to tire wear and lap times. That last spot time by give the advantage to Mike Tellier, 4/100ths of a second faster than the 98.
Now, speaking on the part of fuel mileage, we did see at Motorsport that these drivers could not make it all the way to the end of the race on the tank that they were given. Now, that was a much longer track. I don't know if it will carry over into this race or not. We are running wide open for this one, so the fuel usage is going to be a lot more. However, I don't know if the race distance itself will be long enough that they'll need to. If they do have to pit, that could be a load of strategy that these drivers are going to have to use. Do they short pit? Do they go all the way? Do they try to half this race as we're coming up on the halfway point very soon, as this battle for, well, it was a battle for the 5th position, but it was over before it really even started, as Giaquinto has been deposited to 6th place. But as the run goes on, if they can't make it on fuel, When do you pit? What is the best time to do it? No one's going to pit for tires. Changing tires on these trucks take forever, but can you maximize your pit road time by pitting early and then coming out, having enough fuel to get back on track and get back to speed?
It's just such a catch-22 as Giaquinto dropping through the field. He was in third, now back to eighth, but you're almost guaranteed to lose at least 2 laps on pit road with just how slow you have to crawl down this pit lane, and there's no guarantee that a caution may not come out and trap you those multiple laps down. So is there something to be gained with coming down pit road early in terms of lap times? Well, the telemetry says yes, you can gain anywhere from 3 to 4 tenths of a second. But is it worth that gamble? I just really don't know. As Mike Tellier looks like the answer of who used up their stuff more between the 98 and the 97, it might be the 97, as he got the wall there on the back straightaway and now falls back into the clutches of Judge Edmondson. Mike Tellier, coming into tonight, is a former winner here at the Bristol Motor Speedway. As a matter of fact, the last time that they ran the paved version of Bristol back in Season 2, Tellier was the winner. Your race leader, Tristan Mayer, he has a Bristol win as well, but that was last year when they ran the dirt version.
Yeah, now running on the concrete version of this racetrack is showing why he had success at that track, as well as he's driving it like it is an oval, or like it is dirt. Have you noticed how he's sliding through the turns? I don't know if it's intentional or not as he grabbed the piece of the wall, but he's sideways through these turns. Everyone else is taking these turns rather gingerly. I don't know if this is a result of his tires falling off, but whatever he's doing, it's working, because his gap continues to increase lap after lap. He is driving it like it is a dirt track, and I think that's what some of these drivers aren't doing, because number one, they're battling each other, but also I don't think they figured out how to take these turns the same way that Mayer has.
Certainly going to help him get the nose pointed off the corner and generate some good straightaway speed, but at the same time, really going to be heating up those rear tires, wearing them down. So it's kind of take the advantage while you can, and maybe you have to deal with the consequences later on. As Mike Tellier looking back at his rearview mirror, and he is seeing Triple, Parisi, Edmondson, and Dave Badeo all trying to get around the 97. They're going to jump to the top side here is Parisi, and he is going to, at least for the moment, unofficially edge ahead with the runner-up spot. He will clear for the position when they get into turn number 1.
And at the moment, Parisi will get the clearance, and he'll take off and try to run down Mayer now. Tellier to the outside. He's going to try and get around the aforementioned Mike Tellier. Tellier's starting to fall back in the speed department as he's been slowly having his lap times increase. Right now, running in the high, or the low one, or make that the low 19-second laps right now, as a 19.1 was the last time around. Everyone trying to get around. Now Edmondson tries to get the inside. We saw that Edmondson, speaking of him, at Bark River, he did fantastic at that track. He actually pulled out to pretty similarly to what we're seeing with Mayer right now. But ever since we've gone to these on-road circuits at Mosport and now here, he hasn't been able to pull out to a fantastic lead that we saw him pull out so far. You think that the dirt really suits him, because we've only had one so far. Another track that would suit him then would be Crandon, which we don't go to for another couple weeks.
Yeah, definitely going to be one to watch him at. These drivers actually going to have a little bit of an off week. We'll be coming back to you here with the Stadium Super Trucks on October 5th, when these drivers will continue on their schedule. One thing that I've been noticing here as well, that maybe I didn't expect quite as much at a track like Bristol, especially with what we saw in those battles for the heat wins, how close they were. If we go back to the season opener at Bark River, we ended up having our eventual race winner, Josh Edmondson, lead 14 of those 15 laps. Dominating performance. Last week at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, Connor Parisi led all 15 laps of that one. Tristan Mayer has led all 36 laps so far. Nobody's been able to be within striking distance of him. I don't know, I just kind of felt, based off what we saw in the heat races, that we might see more drivers up here in the conversation for the win. But even here at a short track like Bristol, it is a dead runaway.
I think what happened with Mayer in this race specifically is that he had a great starting position off the heels of his finish in the B main, and he had a fast truck, and he was put into that position more or less because of contact that was made late in the race. So he started with a great spot. He had the truck to really get out in front of everybody, and because of all that, he didn't have to fight through traffic in order to get up here. these drivers behind, such as Dave Badillo, Josh Edmondson, Valvano, they had to fight to get through traffic, and they haven't just now gotten through some of that traffic, and now they're still fighting through traffic, and that wears your tires down, that wears your machine down, and it wears your body down. Physically fighting with drivers around you to try and get the position, it wears you down. And right now we're seeing that because of that, not even Parisi's been able to fully get away from Tellier, as Tellier's gone to the inside again, trying to get the position done.
Now let's bear in mind here as well, as you see Garrett Gleason going a lap down. He is now -2. Bob Giaquinto is on pit road. He was already lapped, as we saw, by Tristan Mayer, and he's going to lose a couple of more laps with having to pit under green flag conditions. But Tristan Mayer, he got bonus points in his heat race. He got bonus points in the B main, but he didn't get nearly as many as Josh Edmondson did. This could be the great equalizer if he's able to close this thing out. Right now, with him running in the race lead and Edmondson mired back and forth, that's 7 points that Tristan Mayer is in line to be able to pick up. I don't know if that would necessarily just completely cancel out the bonus points that Edmondson got in his heat race and the B main, but 13 points back behind Edmondson was Tristan Mayer coming into this race. You gotta think, if he can take this checkered flag here tonight, those points gaps, they're gonna close up a ton when we get to our next race.
Absolutely, and if he continues his momentum into the next race, which is going to be another track similar to Mosport, so we'll be going to Charlotte Road Course as our next scheduled event. So the drivers that did well there, that would favor drivers such as Connor Parisi, but if he can manage to keep the momentum into that race, then we should see this points lead potentially be a three-way between Mayer, Parisi, and Edmondson, which if that's the case, then that's going to be making up for a pretty interesting second half of the season. Goodness gracious.
Nick Tellier trying to get the 4th position on Dave Badillo and got way out of shape there off of turn 2. Man, that 97 is struggling as Valvano now jumps up to the outside. I think right now Tellier is just in hang-on mode for these final 5 laps.
Yeah, he's used up a lot of his stuff. He's just trying to hold on to it as behind him. Cageman was trying to hold on to it as well as he almost went around. But the teammates now run 2nd through 4th, Parisi, Edmondson, and Badillo, but nobody has been able to have anything from Mayer. And I think we're seeing why Mayer was a champion last season. He's been able to get out in front. He's been dominating this race. He won in the dirt last season, but he's been able to make the concrete work for him just as well, because as these laps tick down, his lead is falling now that the drivers have been able to catch up to him. I think he's got a pit. He's on the pit lane.
Yes, he is. With 4 to go, Tristan Mayer has to come down to the attention of his crew. That throws into question all the rest of these drivers if they can make it. It's going to be 1.5 miles here, hitting the start-finish line. 1 mile left here at the Bristol Motor Speedway. Can these top 5 all make it on fuel as Mike Tellier is on pit road?
2 laps to go. Edmondson, Badillo, and Parisi. Now, I have a question for you, Seth, with 2 laps to go. Were these drivers playing a little bit of strategy and saving fuel over the course of the race, and that's why they couldn't catch up to our leader?
I can tell you, these drivers dealing with the loose sensation, when you clutch into the corner here at Bristol, it actually tightens up the front end of the race car, which cancels that loose sensation. I think you're exactly right. I think these guys were saving, and I think they're going to be able to make it around here. Even if Josh Edmondson runs out of fuel at this point, he can coast back to the start-finish line. What a call, and he's going to be a 2-time winner. Josh Edmondson wins tonight at Bristol.
Edmondson wins on strategy. Stephen Cageman's gonna get 2nd place out of all of this. He comes out from out of nowhere to get 2nd, and Vincent Valvano has run out of fuel at the end of the race, but will pick up a 3rd place. Josh Edmondson played the strategy game perfectly, and he will take the win on a fuel run that started at the beginning of the race.
Valvano ran out of fuel going into turn 1. Parisi, who finishes 4th, ran out of fuel coming to the start-finish line. And it looks like Edmondson might have been a half lap to the good as that car was coasting through 3 and 4. I don't even think he's got enough fuel in the truck to be able to do some burnouts on the front straightaway. Who would have thought that it was more than likely going to come down to fumes in the closing stages here tonight at Bristol?
That's incredible. And for this strategy to work out for Edmondson and Cageman, they had to start saving about halfway through the race if they were going to make it. And I would dare say that the likes of Edmondson and Cageman were saving even from the get-go. And that is incredible foresight to have that, to discipline yourself, to not want to go at it. I think that they had the speed and they could have very well taken off if they wanted to, but they were able to discipline themselves throughout the run to keep the speeds down enough to save enough fuel to make it to the end. And I don't think I've seen a strategy work that well in a long time.
And how incredible, in almost typical Bristol fashion, where you've just got to stick around till the end. We basically were ready to hand the checkered flag to Tristan Mayer, and in the final 5 laps, the finishing results completely turned on their head. We were talking about Tristan Mayer being able to cut into Josh Edmondson's points lead. Well, flip reverse that script, because now Josh Edmondson is going to have himself a pretty sizable gap when we get to the Charlotte Roval in a few weeks.
Yeah, he's going to have a major points advantage heading into Charlotte in a couple of weeks' time. And that, I think, is what he was more concerned about than the overall win. Even if he didn't win tonight, he wanted to have a good finish. And now his lead will be incredible heading into our next event. Josh Edmondson will pick up the win tonight, getting his second A main win on the season. He was able to sweep the event at our first run out in Bark River, and then was able to just fall short at Mosport, but now he's back up on the winner's circle. Here in Bristol, he wins the A main, as well as his teammate Dave Badillo winning the B main. So the team, overall, fantastic run in the mains tonight for that team. Stephen Cageman, give him some credit. Second place. He was running at the back of the pack pretty much all night long. Finds himself in a second podium position. That is fantastic to have the ability to save as much fuel as he needed to get that run. And Vincent Valvano, who had some hardships, will find his way into third place at the end of it.
Top 4 were all able to make it back to the start-finish line on what they had in the tank. Tristan Mayer and Dave Badillo had to do a gas and go in the closing stages, but they managed to finish on the lead lap. And then Mike Tellier, Garrett Gleason, and Bob Giaquinto, they were the last drivers to finish off the lead lap. Tony Lucarelli, who did not take the green in any of the heats, the A main or the B main, is going to get credited for the 10th position. What a thriller here tonight, the Bristol Motor Speedway. Absolutely taking us by surprise for sure. Obviously, the drivers knew what was going on in terms of crunching the numbers and know if they could make it on fuel or not. And let's see if we can talk with a couple of them here. Let's see if we can kick things off with tonight's third place finisher, Vincent Valvano. Vincent, it's Anthony and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
I got you.
Oh man, I mean, we saw some incredible racing here tonight, not only in that A main, but also the B main, some exciting racing there, and even the heats provided some really good racing. A photo finish there to kick off the night in the first heat race, but the biggest thing we saw you drivers struggling with here tonight had to be that rear grip. I mean, we were just seeing you guys leaving rubber there out of the corners. How difficult was it to keep that truck planted underneath you, and just how much worse did it get as you guys went further and further into a long green flag run?
It was pretty difficult. Coming out of the turns, throttle control was key. It was very slippery, and entering the turns, it was easy to slide up the track, and the back end kicked out so simple. It was pretty difficult. So throttle control was a big part of tonight, and it was a lot of fun racing these trucks at Bristol.
Now, one thing that we had a pretty good idea of going into this race, but didn't realize how close it would have been, was the fuel mileage as well. And to the end of the race, the last 3 laps, we saw drivers falling off pretty quickly and never was able to recover from it. And some drivers were able to manage the fuel properly. And you were one of those drivers that made it to the end of the race, albeit running out of fuel going to the line. Just how close was the fuel tonight? And what did you have to do to save as much to get a third place?
Well, near the end of the race, my crew chief was telling me I needed to pit on the lap before the last lap. And I went to take the pit, and then I thought, I think I can make it. So I barely made it, and I know a lot of people did run out. So managing it was difficult, and I got lucky. I got to save a little bit of fuel during the race, and it worked out perfect.
Definitely did work out for you. Third place, a podium finish here tonight in the A main. A lot of very important points going to be coming your way as you try and work your way further up there towards the top 5 in the point stands as well. Vincent, congratulations on a great run. We're now going to give you the opportunity to thank some sponsors and do some shout outs.
All right, thank you guys. Big shout out to you guys, FRN, and big shout out to TNR. I have a lot of fun racing with the group of guys, and big shout out to my family who watches me race and my friends. And I hope I can keep putting on a good performance in this league. It's a lot of fun.
That's Vincent Valvano, third place here tonight under the lights at the Bristol Motor Speedway. Congratulations and best of luck in a couple of weeks' time when you guys head to the Charlotte Roval.
Thank you. Thanks again.
See if we can get another driver that was able to save the fuel necessary to get a podium finish. Best finish on the season for Stephen Cageman. Steven, Anthony and Seth up here in the FRN booth. You got us?
Yeah, I gotcha.
And a great run for you here tonight. We kind of saw you, especially in the A main, hovering just inside the top 5, but you figured out why you were just hovering there, saving the fuel to make it to the end. Now, we saw a number of drivers running out of fuel coming out of turn 4. You looked like one of the few drivers that actually were still under power coming around to the start-finish line. So having to deal with these trucks slipping and sliding around, how difficult is it to then just kind of have another half of your brain making sure that you're going to be able to hit that fuel number and be able to make it back to the start-finish line for the checkered flag?
Yeah, this was a crazy race. I like at 20 laps, I saw on my dash that I had 20 laps of fuel left. At 10, I had 10 left. At 5, my crew chief said I had 5 left. So I knew it was going to be close. And it wasn't on purpose at all. I definitely thought we were going to have to pit, and I definitely think I was the only person that had my light didn't come on until the second I crossed the finish line. So it was hard to manage, those 50 lap old tires with, or however many laps it was, with people running like half speed, running out of fuel beside me, and just trying to keep it on the track.
Yeah, we saw that close action throughout the entire event from start to finish that had caught some drivers kind of in a state of limbo, couldn't get going enough to catch up to some of these drivers that got out in front. But what we did see was you were able to use these trucks to their full advantage. We saw a lot of contact being made, and the trucks continued to stay straight. We saw some of them dive out to the inside of the racetrack and almost go around. But how planted were these trucks going through the turns? Because we were wondering, just seeing how they were able to sail them in, it looked like that they were pretty well onto the ground and not been able to really break free pretty easily.
They can get a little sideways, but with these trucks, they're kind of indestructible and keep going in a straight line forward. So that's what makes that type of racing easy and fun to drive. That's why I love driving these trucks so much.
Obviously, a great performance for you here tonight. A big points night as well, coming off the heels of a good run last week that jumped you up to 4th in the standings at most sports. So, looking forward to see you keep this momentum up when we get to the Charlotte Roval in a couple of weeks' time. We're now going to give the opportunity here, Stephen, to do some thank you sponsors and shout-outs.
I just want to thank you guys for putting on a great broadcast, DRP for sponsoring the series, and Garrett for running TNR, and Mike for running the series every year. It's just so much fun.
That is your second place finisher, Stephen Cageman, here tonight at the Bristol Motor Speed. Once again, congratulations on a great performance. Congratulations on some great fuel strategy there as well. And best of luck when we see you at the Roval in a couple of weeks.
Thank you very much.
Oh, the guy that saved the fuel that got him the checkered flag here tonight for the second time this season, it's Josh Edmondson. Hey, Josh, Anthony and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I mean, we saw you take your first checkered flag in the season at an entirely different track, a dirt-covered rally course at Bark River. Here tonight, though, a concrete-covered half-mile Bristol Motor Speedway, and you had to work your way through quite a bit of traffic as well, starting mid-pack. So, first off, how difficult was it to be patient making your way up through there? Because we saw at one point you were kind of boxed in there behind the 97 and the 23.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was difficult to get through the pack. You kind of had to pick your line wisely, and try and get around some of the guys that were going to bump each other and maybe get slow. And it was a lot different than the first round. The dirt tracks, the short course tracks is what I do the most. So that was I was kind of expecting to win there. This one I knew was going to be tough. I'm actually really happy to come away with the win on this one. I didn't really expect it.
Now, the fuel that was the fuel talk going into this race was that at Mosport, you definitely could not make it to the end of the race with the fuel you were given, but it was kind of close tonight going into the event on whether or not you could actually make it to the end of the race. And we saw a number of drivers that miscalculated just how much fuel that they would need and ended up falling out right before the end of the race with about 3 laps to go. So, what did you have to do tonight in order to keep the fuel right in the window where you needed it? Because we saw you coming off the start finish straight, running out of fuel going into turn one. It was extremely close for you guys.
Yeah, I was definitely fuel saving towards the end there. And I think maybe just being in the draft most of the race helped me. You know, that's probably what hurt Tristan out front being by himself. I was pretty much following somebody most of the race, so I think that might have helped save a little there. But I was definitely lifting a little more at the end. These trucks actually can save quite a bit of fuel by doing that, or you can burn a lot by being wide open. Like first round at Bark River, I actually had to pit because I was a lap short there. So yeah, there you can definitely burn up the fuel by being hard on the gas. So I just got lucky, I guess. I mean, everybody else had to burn their fuel up, and I had just enough to make it to the line.
So obviously, with the lighter gray coloration of this being a concrete surface, we're able to have the benefit of seeing when you guys lay down that tire rubber, and a lot of tire rubber was laid down, especially with the rear tires coming off the corners and onto the straightaways. I mean, coming into tonight, were you looking at this as a fuel strategy race, or were you looking more at just conserving those tires?
It was definitely more about the tires. I figured there would be a caution, so I was actually going to take fresh tires. If there was a caution, we were pitting. I was going to add a little fuel and take tires. That was my plan. And then yeah, coming down with like 10 to go, I looked, saw that it said estimated 10 laps. I'm thinking, okay, I can make it if I stay easy on the gas. And that was the only time where I really started to think about fuel. Before that, it was just trying to gain track position.
We certainly know that Bristol Motor Speedway brings about thrilling finishes in one way or another. Here tonight, all about the fuel strategy. Josh, congratulations on your second win on the season. We're now going to turn the mic over to you for some victory lane. Thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
Yeah, thanks. Absolutely got to thank you guys for putting on the broadcast. Excited to go back and watch it. And then shout out to everybody on the team Jim Beaver Esports, Fistful of Bourbon, Winners Get Whiskey, General Tire, Polaris Razor, Rigid Industries, Vision Wheels, and we got our new partner that just actually got announced today is Next Level Racing. So pretty stoked about that too.
Josh Edmondson, 3 races into the season, is a multi-time winner as he is the victor here tonight at the Last Great Coliseum at Bristol Motor Speedway. Congratulations, Josh. Enjoy the off week, and looking forward to see you go right back at it when we head to the Charlotte Roval.
Sounds good. Thanks.
That's going to conclude our coverage here tonight from the Bristol Motor Speedway. And just a little bit of a tidbit. I know we're only 3 races in, but with Edmondson's win here tonight, that is the furthest back that a race winner has started in an A-main race. 7th place is where Edmondson took the green flag here tonight. That eclipses Connor Parisi's 5th place starting spot when he took the checkers last week at Mosport. So obviously, as we heard from him, a lot of patience went into it in the early stage of the race. And I almost wonder, too, he talked about conserving the tires. It looked like he was really being boxed in, held up there when he was trying to get around Giaquinto and Tellier for the second position. I almost wonder if the fact he had to back off and kind of bide his time to get around him, if that might have also helped him to maybe inadvertently be saving some fuel for the closing stages.
Absolutely. He was one of the only drivers that was able to actually get to the finish of this race without stopping. And he was back in traffic quite a bit, having to be off the throttle a lot to not run into the guys in front. So definitely could have been one of the factors that made it so that he was able to save to get to the end of this race. And if that is the case, then that was pretty well, it worked out pretty well for him. And sometimes you just have to be in the right place at the right time. I thought during the race that he might have done it on purpose, but given the interview, I don't think anybody did it on purpose. They just kind of looked down and saw that they were short on fuel, and that's when they decided that they needed to do something about it. And it worked out for some. It definitely did not work out for others.
Certainly helped to bring about a very exciting finish here tonight in the closing stages at the Bristol Motor Speedway. Again, these drivers, they've got an off week next week before they go right back to work in the fourth race of the season when we head to the Charlotte Roval, second time that they'll be at an asphalt-covered road course. And obviously, we'll have a little bit of an idea of what to expect from these drivers based off of what we saw them do at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park last week.
Absolutely. It's going to be similar race surface. And we're also going to see what these trucks can do on the banking because we've got tonight as a benchmark to see what they can do there. Obviously, the trucks there the track is a lot longer than this one, and you'll be able to carry a lot more speed down the straightaways, although these trucks will top out around 115 ish miles an hour. So they won't be able to produce that much more speed, but they will put on some pretty good shows going down the straightaways. And that's really what it comes down to. Imagine this, a run that someone gets through the chicane on the back straightaway, through NASCAR 3 and 4, down to the final turn chicane. That could be extremely fun to see a late race dive there for a race win or a heat win. That is that kind of racing we're going to see at the Charlotte Road Course.
Absolutely. Going to be a good one, no doubt. And we will be bringing you coverage of that in 2 weeks' time on October the 5th, with the green flag scheduled to fly at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But what a crazy finish here tonight at the Bristol Motor Speedway. It came down to who had the fumes to get back to the start-finish line, and Judge Edmondson was that guy. Two-time winner on the season and will carry a pretty sizable points lead into the Charlotte Roval. Anthony, has been a great one here tonight at the Bristol Motor Speedway. Appreciate you joining me in the booth.
It was fun. I love seeing these trucks go around these tracks and had a great show tonight. We get a great show in 2 weeks.
Yeah, the track that we lovingly call Briggle here in Bristol, Tennessee. Thanks to everyone that tuned in tonight. We hope you guys enjoyed our coverage, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time at the Charlotte Roval. For Anthony McCurry, I'm Seth Cole. You've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like